Hello, my name is Maxine Ward, and I'm one of the trainers at the International College of Professional Celebrants, and I'm also a practicing celebrant.
And hello, everybody. My name is Julie Bisaker. I am the Operations Director at the International College of Professional Celebrants, and I am also a civil celebrant. Welcome to our podcast today.
And we're here, aren't we, Julie, to talk about the 7 advantages of becoming a celebrant. And there are some, I think, that are more obvious than others, and some that people haven't thought about before. So let's start off with sort of the joy, if you want, of becoming part of somebody's memories. What's your experience with that?
So when I talk to my couples or clients, I always reach out to them to say, this rite of passage that we're about to experience now is going to be so important for you to remember well and with positive memories. So writing of the ceremony and the delivering of the ceremony is going to be key in this moment. For instance, with weddings, couples can arrange their flowers, they can arrange their transport, they can arrange their venue, but the words that are spoken on that day and the vows and the commitments and the promises are central and huge in their memories of what happened on that day. I think being part of that moment is such a privilege for a celebrant. And likewise, Max, we've talked about this before, about the honor of celebrating someone's life at their funeral and being part of that fond farewell to a loved one. I think after those ceremonies, the feeling of the service you have provided and the attachment that you have to those clients is so strong. How do you feel about it?
Well, I think it's a journey, isn't it, really, the memories? And for me, one of the big joys is that you'll knock on somebody's door, or you might have a Zoom meeting with them, and you start to ask questions. It's either about a loved one who's passed away, or ask them about their relationship, if it's a couple who are getting married and how that started, and you have it all unfolding before you. And I found, especially with funerals, when you go and meet a family in their home, we're all humans, we look round, we sort of, we all make initial judgments, and then you're wrong, I think, nearly every single time. So I remember a lady who had spent all of her life fostering children. She's had over 40 foster children, and this couple had to work really hard and scrimp and scrape to do that. And you just think, wow, isn't humanity wonderful? Aren't people's stories amazing? And quite often you'll laugh with the families, you might shed a tear with the families, but I think it's just the joy of finding out people's stories and then being able to, as you say, turn that into a ceremony, and then make sure, as you said, that the family are getting the service or the ceremony that they want. So the telling of it and the way you tell it and how you represent their memories is really important as well, isn't it?
It really is. And I think that example was really a good one, about how they won't forget you, you won't forget them. You were part of that magical moment, albeit a sad one, a glorious one, whatever. It's a significant one. How many jobs are like a celebrant has that they celebrate the most important part of people's lives? So I think that leads us on to the second attribute, really, of the joy and the power and the reward that we get as celebrants playing that role. And I think also within that, you sort of alluded to it a little bit, in about that we have to sometimes challenge ourselves, both when we train and when we actually are out practicing celebrants. Each person has a journey of introspection and challenges. Has that been your experience?
What, while we're training?
Both, well, you train when you train to be a celebrant, and when you actually are a celebrant, that you continually challenge yourself.
Yes, absolutely. So I would say everyone who comes on our training has a journey. Everybody's journey is different. We were talking about this earlier, weren't we? We have people who leave and say, I am going to change my life now. it's just been such a journey, because it's all about love, it's all about emotion, supported by all the practical tips that we give to people. So their journey is sometimes really profound. On the other hand, we sometimes get people who just, they naturally fall into that as the next thing. And as a trainer, I'm on that journey too. And if I can help somebody on their journey and to change career and to do something they really love, when I'm driving home on Friday, I'm a really, really happy person. And then you mentioned actually at the ceremonies themselves. So what have you found, in terms of, joyful, powerful and rewarding, when you've been a celebrant?
Well, two cases fairly recently. One, I had to deliver a funeral of a woman who died very young through alcoholism, and I had to find a way. The challenge was to represent this woman in a non-judgmental way, and finding all the joy she had brought to her children. And in spite of her illness, which was an awful illness, what she managed to hold together and achieve. So I suppose there's the challenges of actually finding the kernels of goodness to tell people about people's lives. But I also think we have our own individual prejudices or preconceptions of what something's going to be like, or somebody's going to be like, or a situation. And I think with ICPC, we teach equality, diversity and inclusion in such a strong way that we constantly self-reflect and think, why do I believe that? Why did that thought occur to me? Where did that come from? And I think that is an ongoing daily journey that we experience as celebrants and as trainers.
Absolutely. And I think it is, you look at, powerful's a funny word, isn't it, when you think about the job being powerful. But for me, I think the power is in taking people on a journey, being able to represent, especially in funerals, and exactly as you said, being able to represent that person in a non-judgmental way that will speak equally to everybody in the room. So in your case, that lady, I think there was probably lots of different emotions and memories, and it's being able to pull that together in a way that speaks to everybody, and gives permission to everybody to remember in their own way. And sometimes that might be painful. So having, that is powerful, and it's very rewarding. And I think, when you come away from a funeral, you think, I've done a good job because I've helped the person on that journey. It is rewarding, and you are their anchor, aren't you? You're there when everything's spinning in the world around them, not only when they've experienced the bereavement, but when you're actually there. There's often a moment when you look at them and they look at you, and it's kind of a moment of calm before it all starts, or a moment of reassurance. And I find that very, very rewarding. Let's talk about the joyful stuff as well, because there is joy in funerals, but there's lots of joy in weddings. Tell me about your experience of that, Julie.
Each wedding has its own joy, but one that I recall from this summer is there was a moment I was outside of a big farmhouse. It was quite a rustic countryside wedding. People were sat on hay bales, and they looked like characters out of Midsummer Night's Dream. They just
did they?
with like flowers around their hair, and an impromptu addition. When the bride said to me, "Oh, is it okay if my friend sings a song?" And I said, "Absolutely yes," because we like to say yes to everything, even if it's not in our plan. We can find a way of getting it there.
We can.
But I said yes, and quickly ran to my script to find out an opportune moment, found out the person's name. And as I introduced this person to come and sing, I stood back and the sun beamed down at me. There was sort of dappled leaves. She had an acoustic guitar. She sang beautifully, and everybody joined in the song. And I had one of those little moments when the happiness swelled up from me. I'm going to get emotional thinking about it. Where everybody was so joyful, and I felt so lucky. I just thought, wow, what an amazing career I have chosen here. It's so joyful and so rewarding, and they loved it. And I presented with them with their copy at the end, and they just couldn't have given me more reward than their faces that were so full of, that was the most amazing wedding, Julie. Thank you so much for doing it. That is so rewarding.
Oh, I wish I'd been there now.
Oh, did I paint that picture well? Because I can see it in my mind's eye. So, well, I won't forget it. And I think, you know, what I alluded to in there was about the freedom we have with our clients to create the magic they need. But not only that, this is sort of the third point I wanted to come on to, is freedom runs through celebrancy, doesn't it, in the way that we work and how often we work. And how does that fit in with you doing two roles?
Well, I think quite often when people come to train with us, and this was true of me, we were kind of on our third wave or our third career, and you get to a point in life, for me, where I was thinking, I don't want any more formal appraisals. I don't want to ask people when I can go on holiday. I want to work on my own terms. And yes, I am a part-time celebrant and I do other jobs, but that was really attractive to me. And now I do have the freedom. So if I want to take a Wednesday afternoon off and walk the dog, I can take a Wednesday afternoon off and walk the dog. I can have as many holidays as I like. And that is really empowering if you find yourself being able to do that. It's really empowering to have that freedom and that decision, you know, and that makes me really happy, you know, where you want to, when you want to, take breaks when you want to, you know, that feeling's really, you know, it's unparalleled. And especially for people who are in high stress jobs, I think the effect it has on your mental wellness is it can't be compared, really. It's you know, I know there's been surveys that from people like People Management who've said, you know, people who enjoy a more flexible work-life balance are much happier. But then, you know, you refer to the freedom in how you work as a celebrant, because we're all different, aren't we? Do you want to elaborate on that a little bit more, Julie?
I will do. I have a bit of background noise from a builder, so please forgive that. I think the freedom, as I said, is about everything. It's how often you work, where you work, the distances you travel, how you write your ceremonies with your couples. Excuse me. And I think that you're quite right in the respect that quite often this isn't a first career. This is a career where you can use your transferable skills that you've accrued over different jobs in your life, and you can bring them together and use them in this wonderful profession, which begs the question, can anyone become a celebrant? What do you think, Max?
I think anyone can. So the answer is yes and no. And we've actually got a separate podcast and video about that, haven't we? So to get the detail, it'd be really worth our listeners and our viewers taking a look at that. And I think the thing is, you need certain personality traits and motivations to be able to do that. And we've got a quiz, haven't we, on our website? So if you're thinking about it, it's really good to take our quiz. So that will really sort of position you to discover if Celebrant is right for you. Currently, so we're in November 2022. You don't need qualifications to do that, but there is formal training available. So you have to think about whether or not you want to do that, and I think whether or not you can invest in becoming a celebrant, because you need to pay for your training and you're setting up a small business. So, you know, for a successful career launch, you do need to sort of be able to budget for that. So I think, yes, anybody can, but is everybody able to be, and is everybody the right fit? Probably no, but we've got lots of tools to help you do that. I think when people are thinking about becoming a celebrant, they're thinking about the market, aren't they? And if there's going to be enough work for them. So what are our views on that?
If you think about what we do for a living, is we celebrate weddings, we celebrate births, we celebrate deaths, and everything in between. So people still continue to die, they still continue to get married, and they still continue to be born. This is an ever evolving market. It sometimes people wonder if the market is saturated with celebrants, but I think it's the reverse. I think the demand up to the last couple of years hasn't actually been there because the knowledge of what a celebrant does hasn't been there. The demand and knowledge has grown so much in the last few years and will continue to do so because for this particular month in 2022, we're waiting for the government to see if we can have the license to do the legal ceremonies in a marriage. That in itself is going to really open up the wedding market massively, because every couple can then choose when, where, and do the legals all in one place. So watch this space. If you are thinking of joining, becoming a celebrant, you could not choose a more exciting time to join this profession.
Absolutely, Julian. I was at a venue on Sunday. So rather a venue open day. So couples come to look around the venue, and venues often ask suppliers to come in as added value. I've got all my cards here of people that I'm going to get in touch with. And quite often you open the conversation, you grab them and say, oh, come and talk to me. And they look at your stand in bemusement. And you said, do you know what a celebrant does? And honestly, I would say the majority of them shake their heads and say no. And it's a wonderful opportunity for you to be able to have a conversation about the difference between a registrar and a celebrant. And it really helps you as a celebrant sell your services. But you're absolutely right. There's people automatically think for a wedding that they need to have a registrar, and educating them is what we do, so that people know that they've got the choice and they know that they can have a brilliant ceremony. I think the same with funeral celebrants. The fact that you don't have to have who your funeral director gives you. You can have a celebrant and choose your celebrant independently. And people don't know that they can do that. They don't know that they can have funerals wherever they want to. They automatically think, I have to take this celebrant and I have to go to the crematorium to actually have the funeral service itself. So I think there's a lot of education to go out there. And I think you're right. I think there is definitely a market. And once more people understand, then celebrants, I think, have to be the first choice because of what we do.
I was just about to say on that note, actually, because I think we talked about the wedding industry changing, but I think also the funeral industry is changing. And whereas funeral directors have been the gatekeepers of everything that happens at a funeral, with their disbursements, etc., I think that market is definitely changing to give the client more choice. So there are directories, and there are, people do talks in the local village or town so that they know who their local celebrants are and who they relate to. The last 6 funerals I have done, I've carried out, written and delivered, have not come directly from a funeral director. They've come directly from the client. So that's a change, and that also makes it an exciting time to join this profession.
Absolutely. And when you join the profession, I think one thing that I would really like to talk about as another advantage is that you come into a new family. You make some amazing friends, and we see that, don't we, when we're training during the week.
We do. When you come to train with us at ICPC, we invite you up the night before, and that way you can meet your cohort, meet your trainers, feel your way around, and come Monday morning when you start your training, you're already in a group that sort of feels relatively comfortable with each other. Then that journey through the course of the week, you will make an incredible bond, and that bond will help you set up your business, and you will help others in that group to set theirs, to encourage you, to keep you on track, and in some ways to make you accountable for the things you said you're going to do. When you tell each other, right, by this time next week, I am going to have visited 3 venues, and you meet up. Did you manage to visit those 3 venues? I managed 2. Right, when are you going to do that 3rd one then? And it's a supportive encouragement, and it really helps, I think. And they become really firm friends.
They do, and I'm still in touch with the people that that I trained with, and we check in now and again with each other. We try and meet up once a year. Sometimes that's difficult. We're all across the country, but they're also there for emotional support. So one of the celebrants that I trained with had to do a wedding for somebody who was terminally ill. He works out in Spain, and he needed somebody to tell somebody about it who understands the process that you're going through and the emotions that you're going to feel. And so he turns to his celebrant family. And it's really good. And I also remember when I also had to do a funeral for somebody who was had been an alcoholic and had really struggled with alcoholism. And I used that my celebrants' family around me to say, do you think these are the right words? Have you had experience? So that you're never on your own, are you? I think it's a really wonderful family.
Yeah, when it's a new area for you and you just need that reassurance that you are hitting the mark and that you are doing the best possible job, because every family is different, every client's different. So you are going to come across areas for funerals, especially for children, for babies, for stillbirths, where it's so important to get the wording right. Words are important and powerful, and you need to make sure. So to bounce off your group or even your trainers, because as trainers, we continue to support our delegates right through their celebrancy journey, right into their businesses. So we are there for people. And I think it's good to have that support. So you're not on your own thinking, is this good enough? Am I doing the right thing by these people and these clients? So yeah, I think what we're talking about is the ICPC family. And yes, it's a huge advantage to be part of that group. So the last thing that I was going to talk about today in terms of advantages was the ability to be able to choose where you travel to. How far have you traveled?
Absolutely. I lost you there a minute, so we'll just get John to cut that bit out. It's not a problem. So yes, traveling. So where have you been that you really love? Tell me about your traveling experiences.
That was my question to you, but I
will. Was it? Well, you start.
So I don't travel very far. So I go probably an hour to an hour and a half away. I've just taken a wedding booking for Exmoor, which is a bit further from me, and on the tar steps. I don't know if you know those. There's big stones running through a river, and the field next to it is going to be the wedding ceremony. And I so wanted that role that I thought I'm going to travel further for that one. And they've just given me the job. So I think if a ceremony is something you really want to do, and you suddenly get invited to go and take part of a wedding ceremony in a chateau in France, why not? Obviously, you'd have to build in your travel expenses. Having so much work in the UK, I generally can't go too far. How about yourself, Max? How far have you gone?
Generally, I'll go 90 minutes. But again, if there's a venue that I think, I really fancy that. So I'm doing one in Herefordshire, and I think it's going to be a real sort of relaxed, almost fantasy wedding. They're having an owl fly the rings in, Harry Potter style. And I just really liked this couple. And I thought, yeah, I'm going to do that. I don't work abroad, but if somebody asked me, I think there's different ways you can do that, can't you? I mean, I'd be quite happy to have a long weekend in France if they pay for my accommodation. That would be fantastic. So you can. And the other bit about traveling is that we travel just locally. I've found that I've had a voyage of discovery, picking out venues that I want to work with and going and meeting them. or couples say, I'm going to, we're going to have our wedding ceremony here. And I went, oh, I didn't know that was just on my doorstep. So I'm immediately on the phone saying, can I come and visit you and look round? So you get to see some beautiful hotels, houses, bespoke wedding venues, and you get to drive around your local area and go places that you wouldn't normally go. You wouldn't think just, oh, I'm going to drive 20 minutes or 30 minutes down the road. So I found that I've found so much more in my own county of the gorgeous Wiltshire and surrounding counties by traveling and visiting and networking and having celebrant meetups. So you can travel, and it's a really wonderful thing to do. For me, it's one of the best parts of the jobs. I love to have a good old nosy around venues and meet people. So, you can find clients all over the country, can't you, Julie, if that's what you want to do?
You can. And my husband, when he knows where I'm going to be doing a ceremony,
so you froze again there, so we'll just have to get John to edit that. So I think
Sorry, I was just about to say, so my husband, when he knows I'm going to a special place, he says, oh, I'll come on that one. And so I might go and obviously arrive early and do the pre-ceremony checks, and then I deliver the ceremony, and then I say goodbye, and then I might go and have lunch with my husband somewhere lovely in that area and make a day out of it. So yes, it can combine work and pleasure in those instances.
We've spoken about that. So especially if I'm further away, to say, let's drive down there together, find somewhere nice to stay and go out to dinner in the evening, which will probably soak up all my celebrant fees. But there you go. That's a choice, isn't it? But it's something I'd really like to do. So I think, we've talked about the 7 advantages of being a celebrant. There are some that you don't think about, and some that you do. But thank you so much for talking to me today, Julie. It's been an absolute joy. And I think, just we can remind people, if they want to go onto our website, they can take our quiz. And if they've got any questions, they can give us a call. We're always happy to discuss any of these 7 advantages and talk about them more with people who are interested in becoming celebrants. So thank you very much, Julie.
Thank you. I have thoroughly enjoyed reminding myself of all the joy that I receive every time I'm a celebrant. Thanks, Max.
Thank you.